Thank you. Thank you for having me. I have a mentor of mine, a business mentor of mine, who tells the story of his mentor. And you'd have to understand the gentleman that's a mentor of mine is a high-paid CEO, so successful in his field type person. And the story he tells is when he went to have his first significant interview for a CEO/president position. He's going over his notes and just thinking it's going to be a panel of people firing off questions. So he's polishing up on everything. And the guy sits him down. Jason is his name as well. He's very, very nervous. And the guy just looks at him and says, I have 3 questions for you. Do you want to live an extraordinary life? Do you want to win at everything that you do? And are you willing to do everything it takes to make number 1 and number 2 possible? And he tells the story years and years later because it made such an impact on him. And honestly, with me as well. Because it's to some extent justified of a lot of my behaviors, but it also just fires me up. And I would like to think that everyone wants to live an extraordinary life. That means different things to different people, but all in all, we all want to have an extraordinary life. Do I want to win at everything I do? For me, this is a sickness almost, right? For many, many people. I'm the dad that won't let his young son win in checkers because I would lose sleep over it, right? I find myself looking at other people's badges this weekend, wondering why they have 3 or 4 bars and what blue means and all that type stuff. So that's how my head works a little bit. It resonated so much with me, though, because that's how we all really need to think. That's where it all starts from. Any confident, successful chiropractor you see, you would have a very hard time finding a common thread that is the way they adjust, right? In other words, there's very successful Gonstead practitioners, there's amazing SOT, there's NUCA, it's all across the board. The one thing you see is extreme confidence and ownership and pride and absolute love and passion for chiropractic, right? And that's what we need to create more in this profession. There's a Chick-fil-A restaurant that opened, well, I live in Colorado Springs, a half-hour south is a little town called Pueblo, right? And Chick-fil-A is opening their first location in North Pueblo, which ends up being about 15 minutes away from a location in South Colorado Springs that's been there for years. But people begin to line up 6 days before it opens with tents camping out on the media because they want to be one of the first 100 to take part in Chick-fil-A's opening. To do so, and if you know the company, it's a great company, right? The first 100 people get a free value meal every week for a year. So people camp out to get this and we say, man, those guys are nuts, right? And we'd probably right by saying so. People do the same thing at Apple, right? A new phone comes out, you got a phone in your pocket, you can order it online, but people are camped out on concrete in the cold to get this first product. Krispy Kreme Donuts opened a location several years ago in Colorado Springs, and the Colorado Springs Police Department had to come direct traffic for people in and out. See, I tell my company, and especially the young doctors, we need to view it like that's what's going to happen when we open one of our practices. And isn't it sad that people are like, yeah, that'd be great, but that's not realistic? Well, people are waiting outside for a chicken sandwich, for God's sakes. They could drive 15 minutes north to get one today. Right? They can order the phone online. They have a phone in their pocket that works great. They could wait 3 more days. But they've created such a movement. And it stems from the confidence of that chiropractor and, in essence, the profession in building that excitement in the population. Who saw the ad campaign during the Super Bowl? It's been around for about a year before that, but Throw Like a Girl. Some. So for those that did, a reminder for those that didn't, here's what it was. They took a series of people, men, women, and they asked them, run like a girl for me, right? And both men and women do the silly run like this, and they kind of pull that thing off. Then they say, let's see you throw like a girl. And same thing, and they go, ah, right? And the women do it just like the men do it. And they're laughing the whole time through it. And then they take a group of adolescent young women, right, 9 to 12 to 13 years old, and they said, run like a girl. And they put their head down and they pump their arms like they're winning an Olympic medal. And then they say, throw like a girl. And they wind up like a pitcher and they throw it as hard as they can, and right, they're so confident in what they do. Isn't it interesting that society eventually beats people down to a point of having a different thought in their head of what that means? Right? At what point does throw and run like a girl mean something completely different? To me, that's very similar to how could you look at that and not think about our profession? Right? At what point do we begin to think it's a joke that people would line up to free up their interference in their nervous system, to educate them and their family on how to live a healthier, longer life, and in essence, what health truly is? Where do we think that's a joke, that would never happen, but of course people would have no problem lining up for a chicken sandwich and the chance to get a free chicken sandwich and waffle fry once a week for the next 52 weeks? And it's scary that we have that in our head. Right? My wife Vanessa and I, Vanessa's a co-founder with me and the brains behind the operation, to be perfectly honest. And we got to a point where, we opened up and had some of the same struggles that others do, but I think all in all we did pretty well. So come 2 years in or so, we're living our life. Right? We're building our dream home, and we have fun cars and going on vacations and all kinds of different stuff like that. And we got to a point where, for me, it was maybe 130, 135, 140 a day was where I was like, whew, that was busy, man. Every 2.5 minutes, I was rocking out an adjustment. I loved it all day long. I couldn't wait to go back. Couldn't wait to get home because I love my wife and kids. Right? But we got to a certain point where we said, I don't know how to get busier, to be honest with you, because we had a complete collision of our values. Right? One of our main values was in chiropractic, right? One of the best decisions we've ever made was we're going to leave this profession better than we found it. We're going to do everything we can to move the needle, if you will. So more than the 4%, 5% of people that are currently getting adjusted by chiropractors, we want those 96% of people that have no clue why they would come. We need to tap into that a little bit. And it became one of our life missions. See, we don't believe that people went to jail so my wife and I could have a decent life, so we could make a good living. Now, thankfully, our role isn't to go to jail, but our role certainly isn't to try to survive in the profession either. We need to take the torch and run with it. So we get to a point, right, where we don't know what we're going to do then. How are we going to get busier? Because that collides with my other value, which is more important to me even than the business one, which is I have 3 boys, Ty, Kale, and Alec. Right? They are my life. I like to coach them. We play football. We travel probably 30 weekends a year to baseball, basketball, football tournaments. I love to be with my family on the weekends. I wasn't willing to work Fridays. I wasn't going to work Saturdays or Sundays, and I didn't want to stay later at night. Therefore, what do? And so we decided we need to see if we can replicate this model. Right? Do they really love us, right, Vanessa and myself? Or have we educated these patients because our system is good and we could replicate this? So we made a call to a clinic doctor here at Life, Dr. Flannery, whom many know. And I said, here's what we're looking to do. Do you have a rising star in the profession that'd be willing to do this? Right? And Dr. Brandon Livingood and Rebecca were brought into our life at that point to come out and see if this would be a fit. And so we took a big chance, and they took a big chance on a couple that had one practice with big vision. And long story short, they built a successful practice and killed it. Right? It did so fantastic. So at this point, we say, let's wonder what 3 would look like, right? I mean, let's even move to Denver. Let's see what a different city does. And sure enough, right? Struggles along the way, without a doubt. But all in all, a couple years in, dynamic practice. So let's do 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. Let's keep rolling. So it got to a point, right, where my vision became I need to even pull out of practice because now I'm talking to doctors and getting them excited about what's going on and really trying to lead them through building of their practice. It's a weekend seminar, right, on how to replicate your practice. I certainly don't have the time to go over that right now, but coming from the restaurant field, like I did prior to being in chiropractic, everything is systemized. Now you need to add your personality and your talent and your knowledge to those systems, but you gotta have an answer for things. We as chiropractors and so many young docs in the profession I see go out and try to do it all. In some cases, they don't even bring on a CA to start things from day one. And you're the CEO, right? The entrepreneur, the accountant, the marketing director, the doctor, the CA, you name it. And it's not really that doable. It's certainly been done, right? But to compete in today's world, not with really other chiropractors, but just in the healthcare arena in general, the wellness arena in general, you've got to focus on what you are amazing at. In our company, we decide that doctors are educators, they're certainly adjusters, and they're the leaders of the practice, right? They're the visionary. They train. They make sure things are rolling and ready to attack a new day every single day. So we take a lot of that other stuff off their plate so they can worry about this type stuff. When Vanessa and I started this, we had no intention. Even sometimes people, and many students in this room, perhaps I've had the conversation, they say, what's the difference between you and blank company? I say, we're not even a management company. Like, I'm surprised you even say that, right? Because I never intended to do that. That's not what we wanted to do, but chiropractic and life and innate and universal intelligence has taken me on this path. Right? And I feel the need, I love every second of it, right? Living an extraordinary life, without a doubt. Working my butt off to get there and loving every second of that. But this is kind of what's been thrown in front of me, is leading these young docs through this journey and trying to cut some of that time off, what it takes to be successful. I think sometimes successful chiropractors, and everyone in this room would certainly fall into that, whether you're to be or already are practicing. We're in this bubble because we hang out with other people that are dynamic chiropractors in our profession. And we get the impression of how great things are. We have so-and-so seeing this and so-and-so making this, and they're opening this many practices, and they're going on vacation. And it's an amazing group to be in. To the point, sometimes I think we're naive to the fact of what's really happening with half our profession. And it's scary to think how many people are struggling to survive in this profession. Right? We need to lift them up. We need to build up their self-esteem. We need to educate them as to what's going on. We need to get them to that level where their confidence is magnetic. And when you're a successful chiropractor, you understand what I'm talking about. Because people are always asking, like, well, how do you get more referrals? How do you get so many new patients? And you're kind of thinking, like, I don't really know. It's who I am. Right? I mean, I'm talking to people and they're coming in at 5, 10 a day. Right? It's just because who I am. I'm not really even trying that hard, to be honest with you. Right? And I think it was Sharon Gorman that said, for me, it's youth sports. I draw a ton of that, right? My kids are in that environment, and we have hundreds of people in that arena. And if you're doing, scrapbooking, then it's going to be a bunch of scrapbookers. If you're a table tennis player, then you're going to have a lot of table tennis players, right? But it more becomes who you are and what you stand for. And so you don't actually have to work at it that much. You'd rather just be in yourself with that confidence of making sure people want to come in and be part of your practice. So I know that I was listed to say I'm going to talk about replicating your model and stuff, and in 18 minutes, that's really hard to do. Right? So I'd like to mention that because we've had some great success doing that, and I think that's a great option, not for everybody. Right? But we like to have our doctors not only come in and build a dynamic practice, which is goal one for sure, and certainly not survive, not make it, not pay your bills, right? That's not an extraordinary life. But we want them to have an extraordinary successful practice, and then we want to teach them how to replicate what we've done. Because maybe, just maybe, you get to a point where you say, you know what, I'd like to take a little toll off my body. I don't want to adjust 140 more a day forever. I want to be able to go away to Europe for 2 weeks and not know my practice is going to be suffering because of that. So we like to give the docs the option of when you go in on a Monday, it's because you want to be there on a Monday. Maybe Tuesdays you don't. Wednesday mornings you like it, and then you want a 4-day weekend every week. Right? But you're still furthering your vision chiropractically. When I look at my numbers, although it's not me directly that does that now, right? We'll look and have 800, 900, 1,000 new patients a month, and I never would have done that. Clearly, right? That's not feasible. But it makes me feel good because I've then found a way to expand my vision and keep driving that. And kind of circling back now to the Chick-fil-A story, right? I want to get to a point where we as a profession don't laugh at that. Because still as I say that, many people in this room are thinking, no way in hell that's ever happening. Right? And that's scary and sad to me at the same time. Because we've accepted where that will happen, right? In essence, in the fast food arena that's ironically killing people, right? People will line up to get those waffle fries and chicken sandwich. And they're good, believe me, I love them. Right? But not to the extent that I would camp out in February in Colorado to get a free value meal every week. It's not that good to me. But people think that, and not only that, they're proud to be on the news. They can't wait to tell the story of how long they've been there, to be number one in line. And when we create a vision and create a world with our young docs and students and even existing docs right now, where people truly understand what we do. And so many doctors are so eloquent at delivering that message, and certainly Dr. Chestnut would fall in that group this morning, right? But when you just educate people and tell them the truth about what they need, right? Not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear, then without a doubt, you'll build a dynamic, successful practice and possibly dozens of dynamic, successful practices. So I thank you all for your time and appreciate you listening to me today. So thank you very much.